Good evening, my people. Welcome to the 1759 podcast. Hope you had a good week, a good day. In the last episode, we discussed a simple solution to solve the unfriendly environment blocking investments in the oil and gas upstream sector and the issue of crude oil theft, which has been averaging 500,000 barrels per day since the days of the Jonathan presidency. Give the land back to the people, we said, and let them earn lease income royalties directly on their land. Until then, selling NNPC, its assets, new mining and prospecting assets will not get willing buyers. At the end of that episode, we committed to take a stab at selling the NNPC. So today, we will sell that beast. We will sell the stakes in the joint venture assets and restructure those agencies in Abuja regulating oil and gas activities in all corners of the Federation. It is not a strange idea. Late Chief M.K. Abiola muted this idea in his 1993 presidential campaign. That was 31 years ago. Atiku Abubakar had also mentioned this in his 2019 and 2023 campaigns. I cannot vouch for their fidelity in making this happen, but the idea to sell sits well with me. So let's even attempt to sell the NNPC to show that it is sellable and makes sense to sell transparently if there is a will to do so. Work with me, people. We are going to a sensible place. To start with, who owns the NNPC Limited? The federal government of Nigeria, on behalf of 200 million plus Nigerians, owns it 100% through the Ministry of Finance Incorporated. So we are clear on the current owner. Then let us look at the NNPC Limited as a group and its subsidiaries, especially after the Petroleum Industry Act 2021 became law. There is the upstream business, and you can see the 4 major subsidiaries under this. Then there is the gas, power, and new energy business, where we also have another 4 subsidiaries. We also have the downstream business, where we have the dead refineries. They are still trying to wake up after billions of dollars in turnaround maintenances. You also have the trading company. I'm sure they are the ones in charge of importation from Malta and other places. NNPC retail is well known to us. We queue there for fuel almost every quarter year. 6 subsidiaries in total in the downstream business. Business services. This is an interesting one. NNPC Properties, Medical Services Limited, and even HMO. Can imagine oil and gas company involving in medical services, HMOs, and properties. Let's just hold on to our comments there. Then finally, 2 offshore companies in which the NNPC has majority stakes. In total, we are talking about 19 active subsidiaries. I think there is 1 or 2 that are no longer operational. So now that we know the piece we are dealing with, let's sell. What should we do with the 100% holding? That is with the federal government of Nigeria through the Ministry of Finance Incorporated. I think we should sell with 5% majority stake to international investors through bidding and to Nigerians through public listing. The international investors should be reputable oil and gas companies, not the briefcase investors we sold the power companies to. Out of the remaining 45%, 15% should go to the oil producing states, and this can be allocated in line with historical crude volume production and proven oil reserves in each state. That's about 9 states there. Then another 15% should go to all the other states and FCT in Nigeria, and this can be allocated using population and size of the states. The federal government can keep the remaining 15%. If you are still with me, now that we have sold the group, what should the new majority shareholders do with the subsidiaries? I will assume we Nigerians and very capable international oil companies are now the majority shareholders. So what should we do? The upstream, which should be the cash cow, that's the exploration and production company, should be retained. The upstream investment company too should be retained. It goes with the first one. Energy services, sell. That service can be provided by a third-party reputable vendor, and I believe at a cheaper cost. Engineering and technical as well. Sell. Let's move to the gas, power, and energy businesses. NGIC, retain. Gas is the new frontier, so it is core to the business. Gas marketing too. We need to sell the power in the NNPC gas and power investments. NNPC should hands off power. New energy, please sell. Now to the downstream businesses. The trading company should be retained. That's a strategic business to keep. We should also retain the retail business. That is a good business in the hands of competent private investors and the Nigerian public. Definitely not in the hands of government-owned NNPC. Shipping, refineries, Warri, Port Harcourt, Kaduna, the petrochemicals, all should be sold. For the business services, we don't need to spend much time on that. They should all be sold. There are companies with core competencies in these areas and we deliver these services at reduced cost driven by efficiency. For the offshore companies, okay to retain. We are not done. We still have those oil producing wells like the Agbami, the Oemetatis, and other oil rigs in joint venture arrangements between NNPC and private oil exploration and production companies. NNPC currently owns average of 5% in these assets, but always falls too short of meeting our obligations to the agreement, impeding operational excellence and performance. So what should we do here? We should sell 10% of our 55% stake to reduce our stake to 45% and become the minority shareholder, while the international and indigenous oil companies can buy the 10% to become the majority shareholder. This will bring the required confidence for these private companies to inject fund and investment into the assets, since they will no longer be burdened by the inefficiencies and the corruption of the NNPC. This is not a strange model. It has worked perfectly with NLNG, but our people at the ends of the oil and gas sector, professionally or politically, would rather stick with the mess that gives them the juiciest stake in the Nigerian pie. Nigeria is currently looking for billions of dollars in investment, and we have been carrying an empty tray to the international community to seek investments when NNPC currently sits on $280 billion of assets that are not delivering value for Nigeria. Just selling 10% of these assets will fetch us $28 billion. Our current external reserves is in the mid $30 billion. So you can imagine the size of what we can get. Moving on, after we have sold the NNPC, the assets, and giving resource control back to the owners of the land, what should we do to the NUPRC? The power to conduct bids and issue licenses should be devolved to states while they focus on setting standards for the country and monitoring compliance to petroleum laws, regulations, and guidelines in the upstream sector. For the NMDPRA, the power for licensing and permits for oil refining, gas processing, storage, etc. should also be devolved to states. Why should the national agency in Abuja be given license to set up a refinery in Lagos or Kara Namuda? The agency should retain only the mandate to set standards and regulations and monitor compliance. So that is it, people. Like our people say, it is easy to stir vegetable with the mouth. The real work is the will to do and the courage to take that first step to hands off all these assets the government cannot manage. We don't need science to prove that government, especially the Nigerian government, is a failure in managing businesses. The carcasses are all over the place and the vultures can't even see meat to scavenge on them. We have not even touched the seaports, the airports, etc. We have stock to sell. We cannot be sitting on them while carrying an empty tray to beg international community for investment. Thank you for joining this episode. Please follow and subscribe to our channel on WhatsApp, YouTube, TikTok, and Spotify. Drop your comments. We would love to hear from you. And please enjoy that drink. Have a great evening.